Welcome to the College Football Bros. Time for one last coaches episode. And now, here are your hosts, Michael, Ryan, and Trey Newman.
Welcome to the College Football Bros podcast. I am Michael Newman, and I'm joined by the brother who has dropped Scott Frost from his top 20.
Yeah, that's me, Ryan Newman.
And by the other brother who has seen the light with Lincoln Riley.
That is true. That's me, Trey Newman.
All right, today's episode is going to be our finale of our head coach rankings. So last week, of course, we ranked the head coaches in each of the Power 5 conferences. This week, we're going to put them all together and just rank the top 10 coaches regardless of conference. And we'll also give our consensus top 5 group of 5 head coaches.
That was hard.
We'll get to that. That was insanely hard.
Yeah.
But first, we've got 5-star reviews. So, Ryan, why don't you get us started there?
Alrighty, I'm ready this time.
Good.
We got Longhorns fan 98. College Football Bros is the best sports podcast in the world. Have a wonderful day/night, Michael, Trey, Ryan, and Sarah. Hook 'em horns.
All right. Thank you very much.
The next one is from Valhalla24. Very enjoyable. I also love the games they play. He had a question, or she had a question for us. What is a matchup you would most want to see in the playoff? And they listed some examples: Texas versus Texas A&M, Miami, Notre Dame, Florida State. So, Michael, what do you think?
Well, I think this person took some of the good ones, so I'm just going to steal one. I'm going to take Texas against Texas A&M because, of course, they don't play anymore, so it would be a huge deal if they met up in a playoff. And the other positive aspect of them not playing anymore is it would not be a rematch. So,
yeah,
I'll go with that.
I went with something. I want to see some new playoff team in there. So I want USC versus Notre Dame. So they're rivals. But that'd be cool to see. I want to get USC in there for you, Mike.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah, Texas A&M is probably the best one, just because, Michael, exactly what you said. It wouldn't be like if Alabama and Auburn played, we would have just seen that weeks before. I mean, it'd be great, but we would have just seen that. Another one I thought, like Notre Dame and Michigan aren't playing each other every year anymore. That series is kind of intermittent, and then nostalgia-wise, Nebraska, Oklahoma, that would just be, I mean, it's far-fetched for Nebraska to get there, but just in terms of seeing that in the playoff, that would be cool because it's old rivals.
Yeah, old folks would like that for sure.
Yep.
And us. I guess maybe we're old compared to a lot of the listeners.
True.
Okay, last review came from mcone3. Said, very good podcast. Just discovered you guys last summer. Breakdowns and information are good. Not just of Power 5 schools, but of the G5 schools as well. Very straightforward, and I definitely look forward to listening each week. Keep it up. So awesome. Thanks for all those reviews. Really appreciate that. But let's move on to a brief recap of the listeners' feedback from last week's episodes. We, of course, had some strong disagreements, mostly from SEC fans. Unsurprisingly, that was the most popular and kind of passionate response.
Mostly Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas fans definitely chimed in a lot. Of course, we had...
I mean, they were dead last in our...
we had
dead last.
But my brain is dying
Sam
right
Pittman.
now. Who?
Sam Pittman.
Oh, they're really going to hate me now. Yes. I've been reading tweets about Sam Pittman for the last week, and somehow his name just escaped me. But no, there's reasons to be excited about him, so I can get why they were so passionate. But anyway... We have a top 5 list here of the top 5 meanest tweets we received in response to our head coach rankings. So let's see. We're adding live drops to this YouTube experience now, so I'll see if this works out. Bear with us. Number 5, we have Matt. He tweeted us his thoughts along with the hashtag. I'm surprised it didn't catch on. Hashtag don't agree with absurd list. So
I thought that would spread like fire.
Thanks, Matt.
I wonder what team he supported.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
It might have been Arkansas.
Might have been. Yeah.
Safe bet. Now, the next one, number 4, Gage said, LMAO, laugh my ass off, y'all really drew names out of a hat, huh? I mean, honestly, in some of these conferences, like in those buckets, you could technically draw a name out of a hat. But we definitely put our heads together and tried to make the best we could.
I like that one because it's funny. Like, if you're gonna be mean to us, make it funny, and then that's, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I like the people that just tweet like the laughing face or the LOL, as if like when they're trying to make an argument or something, like a rebuttal to a certain ranking or whatever. It's like, do you think that makes your argument stronger just because you're going LOL? Like, it actually just makes your argument less strong because you don't really believe it. So you just got to add a little fake sarcasm in there.
But you're not mad.
No, I'm not mad at all. No, just thinking about this every day here for the last week.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the third one here. A Buckeyes fan account tweeted, "Holy hell, don't quit your day job."
That's not nice.
I'm not planning on it.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Number 2, we're starting to get real good here.
Wait,
so,
a Buckeye fan?
What's
well,
that?
we had day. We had day
third.
Oh, yeah,
so.
I put him.
You put him first, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, number 2 is from John, Jon. He said, quote, "Stupidest poll I've seen." And then he tweeted at us again, including the phrase, quote, "You are garbage." So,
did you see
amazing.
what squad he was?
I believe Arkansas. I'm sorry, Arkansas fans. A lot of you were friendly. A lot of the Arkansas fans, I don't want to just say, a lot of them were friendly.
A lot of people were saying to disagree, but I can understand why he's last.
Right.
Know?
And finally, from John, 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 "Whoever made this list can blow it out their ass." All right.
That was an easy number one there.
It's funny with a lot of these rankings, like our rankings weren't that ludicrous. It's not like we had like Ryan Day 10th or something, or it's just people love lists and they
hate the people that make them.
Yeah, it's true.
Or maybe we just did a really bad job. Who knows? It's possible. Maybe we suck. But no, those tweets were pretty funny. But most of the listeners, viewers, we really do appreciate your feedback because the vast majority was positive, and just even if you disagreed, that's why we put it out there. We want to hear what people think. So appreciate that. So after hearing from all the listeners and from talking with each other about it, what is one ranking that you would change, that you kind of regret from your list last week?
I thought about the Arkansas one, and it's like, well, I mean, I think obviously Sam Pittman hasn't been a head coach before, or even a coordinator, but he does have a good staff around him, and just the fact that Derek Mason. I mean,
he could be past him. Yeah,
so like, okay, maybe I could have bumped him up over him, but that was maybe one that was like, okay, I could reconsider that. Even maybe the Arkansas fans have gotten to me, but
yeah. All right, what about you, Trey?
For me, the toughest position in almost all the conferences was number 2, and so particularly the Big 12 and SEC. For the SEC, I went with Dan Mullen. I've just always, I kind of put him there just because I've always been so bullish. If I really think about it, maybe I could have put Kirby Smart there just because he has had instant success, and obviously he's recruiting like gangbusters. And then in the Big 12, I love Matt Campbell, maybe a little aggressive there. I mean, I don't regret it, but it might have been aggressive.
So instead of Matt Campbell, maybe like a Mike Gundy.
That's the thing. It's kind of a who's who. You got Gundy, you got Herman, Gary Patterson.
Yeah. Those, you're right. In those two conferences, number 2 was tough. I think your choices were reasonable. My biggest change would be, it was from the very first episode, the ACC. I had Mac Brown 5th. And, I guess I should just kind of give in to the fact that he's got things rolling at North Carolina. The recruiting is insane. On the field, year 1 was obviously promising. So I'm just going to vault him to number 2. Why not? I had him behind Satterfield, Fuente, and Bronco Mendenhall. But if I'm an AD right now and age isn't a factor, then I'm probably rolling the dice on the upside of Brown over those guys. So
he's at least got a handful of years. He's not going to take the job and just retire 2 years later.
Yeah.
So I forget where I had Mac, but I think it was in my top 3.
Yeah, you might have been 3rd. You were definitely higher than us, and I I think you were right. After hearing from everybody. Okay. Let's move on to ranking the top 10 coaches in the country, and we'll actually start though by looking at last year's list. So, let's just go through this one by one. Number 10, we had Lincoln Riley, and number 9, Scott Frost.
Oy.
What the hell happened, guys? Why? Trey, we know what happened. I'm sorry, Trey. Yeah. I'm gonna have to throw you under the bus here, but you really screwed us over with this one, Trey.
I was overly optimistic, and I'm the farthest from a homer on this podcast, but I was just buying the year 2 kind of. No one can discount the fact that he was still obviously his UCF days had some weight here.
Oh yeah.
But none of us also envisioned the on-field lack of success last year.
Oh, I'm not even you went a different way with that. I'm not even blaming you for where you put Scott Frost too much, because I think Ryan and I were pretty similar there. We were all very high
behind Frost.
Yeah, was you had Lincoln Riley? You had Lincoln Riley 19th last year.
Yeah.
Which just
I was just driving home the point that he inherited so much, but
yeah.
I'm starting to now, after another year, I'm starting to give him more credit. But yeah, okay, obviously when you look at it that way, of course, terrible.
Yeah, it's okay, but you also made us look stupid right now, so it's not.
You're
okay.
welcome.
But I wanted to see with Scott Frost where maybe a non-Nebraska fan was last year, just to kind of compare. And so I looked at Athlon's top 130, because Steven Lasson, I think, does that list. He's super smart, college football writer, and he had Frost 19th, which is lower than us, but not like a crazy amount. So people were still obviously pretty positive on Frost going into last year, and at least
I'm surprised it was kind of that low, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there were some lists that had him higher than that.
There were some that had him higher. Yeah, because Florida wanted to hire him. Year 1, of course, in Nebraska, it ended well, so people were, like you said, Trey, expecting big things this past season, and obviously that didn't pan out.
I mean, he had good credit to him. He's kind of proven more right on it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. We don't look great right now, guys.
No.
But number 8, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, is James Franklin. Number 7, Jim Harbaugh. 6, Kirby Smart. Tied for 4th, we had Jimbo Fisher and Dan Mullen. Number 3, Chris Peterson, who of course won't be on this list because he has stepped down. Number 2, Dabo Swinney, and number 1, Nick Saban. I mean, the rest of that list looks fine. Even.
Yeah, 9. I mean, really, I wouldn't change a thing right now except for the Frost, and then obviously Peterson's gone, so just bump up Lincoln Riley some more notches. But I mean, nothing's ridiculous there.
Yeah, I'd bump Kirby up to 3.
Well, let's not give away what we're about to rank, guys.
Yeah, good point.
Because we're about to do this was 2019 list.
Hopefully I do that in my real list this time.
Let's do our 2020 list. So, Ryan, who is number 10 on our list? And by the way, we created this list you've probably figured it out by now, but the 3 of us each made our own. We actually made top 20s, and then we kind of just combined, averaged those lists together.
All right, number 10, we got national champion Ed Orgeron. I was the highest on him. I had him 7th, which I feel is more appropriate. Michael had him at 12th.
Yeah,
I'm questioning that one for sure, Michael. I mean, he's 40-9. I had kind of said this at the SEC episode, but 40-9 at LSU, 23-7 in the SEC. A national title, that's got to count for something. Mm-hmm. There's only 5 active coaches that have a national title right now. I don't know what happened. What's going on?
Well, I will say, I mean, I put him 12th, like you said. That's pretty dang high. I mean, there's 130 coaches. I have him amongst some pretty darn good coaches. But here's my case for why I had him outside the top 10. So I have some different stats than I had from last week's episode. So Les Miles at the end of his tenure, was hanging on by a thread. Of course, we all know, because the play on the field wasn't acceptable to LSU fans. So here's Les Miles' last 3 full seasons according to SP Plus. So they were 15th, 14th, and 13th. And that put them on the hot seat, okay? Well, the first 2 full seasons under Coach O, LSU finished 19th and 14th in SP Plus. About the same as Les Miles' previous 3 years. Now, so obviously at that point, you're feeling fine. It's not like Les Miles was a bad coach at the end there, but it wasn't quite up to par for LSU. So, but yeah, year 3 was last year, and Ed Orgeron goes 50-0. They have one of the best seasons ever. So I did bump him up massively for that. I put him up to the 12th best coach in the country. Honestly, I'm even a little uncomfortable putting him that high, but I did it. So there you have it. But now I just want to see, without Joe Burrow, without Dave Aranda, Joe Brady, can he keep having great seasons, or are we going to look at 2019 as the kind of outlier? That's why I kind of hedged and didn't put him top 10.
Yeah, I mean, you have Kirby Smart much higher, and Eddie O's got a better winning percentage at LSU than Smart does at Georgia.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if I kind of always throw away Kirby's first year at Georgia and then just go from there. But that's fair. No, that is true. But again, it's all kind of concentrated in 1 year of overperformance. Whereas like every year from Kirby Smart is arguably, Georgia's best year in 10, 15 years. So I guess it's just the consistency with Smart, even though Eddie O
I just wasn't going to be
better 1 year.
I just wasn't going to be swayed totally by recency bias. Obviously, it counts. I'm not saying it doesn't. But in terms of pure coaching, I just wasn't ready to put him higher. Just because last week I made a point. It's like they just lost 14 guys to the NFL. That's why they were really good. But like I just need to see him prove it again to get them back into, not to win the national title in record fashion, but just to like be kind of playoff relevant again. If he can do that, then I'll definitely boost him.
Yep.
All right. I need a little recess. I forgot my notes on my other computer.
Okay. All right. Ryan, you're excused, Ryan.
Nice flex too. My other computer.
Yeah, multiple computers. Wow. All right. Well, what an operation we got going here. Trey, you and I can carry the load here. So, number 9, we have Jim Harbaugh. So, Trey, you and I were both the highest. We had him 8th. Ryan only slightly lower at 10th, so we're all feeling pretty good about him. I have 2 things to say about Jim Harbaugh, and I'm long-winded, so don't worry. Ryan, he could drive to, Best Buy and buy a new computer with everything I have to say about Harbaugh. But the first thing is there are only 8 Power 5 programs that have more wins than Michigan since Harbaugh took over. And when you factor in that he took over a struggling Michigan team, so he wasn't starting with the greatest starting point, and that they always have a really tough schedule, then, I mean, finishing behind all those teams, which basically are most of the coaches ahead of them, it's not so bad. All right, so that's one thing. The other, this is a nice stat that I got here. Not really a stat, but Ryan is back, so Ryan can hear me now.
Yep.
Okay, so why I like Jim Harbaugh. Often people say, oh, he hasn't even won his division. How can you have him in your top 10? He hasn't even won his division. Well, first off, I guess my first response to that would be he's in the same division as Ohio State, who is just having a otherworldly run. So I don't really blame him too much. But second of all, he's actually 2 plays away from winning 2 of the past 4 Big Ten East titles. So in 2016, if JT Barrett, of course, we've talked about this a lot, if he's marked a foot back, then Michigan wins the Big Ten East, maybe goes to the playoff. All right. Also in 2018, if Maryland converts a 2-point conversion against Ohio State, Michigan wins the Big Ten East. So the fact that he's even been that close to these great Ohio State teams to almost winning 2 of the past 4 Big Ten East titles, I'm okay with it.
The thing that bothers me about Harbaugh is, like, I love Harbaugh, but what I'm talking about is that the critics out there, I feel that his narrative is driven by the media that he's not great just because he can't beat Ohio State. Like, and fans like kind of just grasp onto that and say, oh, that's true. Well, it's not. But like you just laid out, Michael, like they were desperately close to doing so. And the other point you made is that he instantly made Michigan respectable. And I do agree that maybe, okay, he needs to get over the hump to validate the ranking. But if you were asking me today who I'd want to have as a coach of my program, like Harbaugh's on my short list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Harbaugh fan too. I had him a little bit lower than you guys, not crazy amount, but I guess I'll play a little bit of the devil's advocate on this one and say why I have him a little lower. He's been there 5 years. He's finished in the top 10 just once, and it was 10th. So, more than a handful of coaches have been able to accomplish at least more than that. 1-4 in bowl games. In the last couple bowl games, he's been beaten pretty good. I haven't beaten Ohio State, of course. I know he's been close, but hasn't beat them. And some of the last few games have not been close. So it seems like the trend's going in the wrong direction there. And that's it really. But there's just some good coaches in front of him. I mean, I had him 11th or 10th, but it's he's got to break through.
Yeah, he is slowly falling down the list a bit every year, even for me. So
yeah,
I hear you. Okay. Next, we have at number 8, Ryan Day. And Ryan, you can you can quit your day job, I think, according to the Ohio State fans, because you were the highest. You had him number 3.
Yeah.
Why so high already?
Okay, well, anytime you take over a team led by Urban Meyer and you immediately make them better, I mean, you're a darn good coach. I mean, Urban's about one of the best coaches ever, and Ryan Day made this Ohio State team better. But not only did he make them better on the field, he's improving the recruiting. I mean, they're number 1 for next year and have a realistic chance to finish number 1. So better on the field performance, better recruiting performance. We kind of had this debate with Lincoln Riley, I feel like, a couple years ago, and even last year. It's like, well, Lincoln did such a good job taking over a very, very good situation, as Ryan Day has. Look where we have Lincoln Riley now. People were maybe just a little afraid to admit that these guys are really good coaches. Like, just because he has only 1 or 2 years of experience. I don't know. I think we'll look back on this a couple years from now and be like, yeah, Ryan Day, of course. How did we have him 12th or 8th or whatever it was? I think he's going to be a top 5 for sure candidate in a year or two.
Well,
yeah,
I mean go ahead, Michael.
I don't really have a good argument, Trey. If you have something better, I mean, I had him 10th, you had him 9th, Trey. Still pretty high. My whole case is it's just been 1 year. I just want to see more. It's right. He did all he could in 1 year, so that's why he's cracked the top 10 with only a year of experience. But I just want to see it for a couple more.
By default, the Ohio State coach is pretty much going to be in the top 10 just because they've turned into such a recruiting juggernaut, the last decade plus. And he could easily, and I predict he'll probably be in the top 5 in a couple more years just based on what they're doing. But like you said, Mike, I just kind of want to see it. I need the proof on paper just in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 7 on the list, and it is Trey's boy, James Franklin. He loves James Franklin. Why did he fall, or why did he land 7th here?
So he's obviously done great things at Penn State, multiple New Year's Six games, won the Big Ten one season. He's recruited well. He really turned Penn State around, and then the other kind of intangibles, I love his passion, his enthusiasm. He's just a great overall coach. Now, if I did have a concern, and I'm the biggest Franklin guy, is that maybe he's plateaued a little bit and the rapid improvement has stopped. So it's kind of, is he going to take that next little bit bigger step?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's about the only thing holding him back, is just punching through completely. I mean, he's made them as good as you can get. And 6 or 7 for him spot, right, is about as high as he's ever going to get unless he can make a playoff and do damage there. I mean, he won a Big Ten, but and he was able to beat Ohio State, and he's won, a Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl. But unless he
didn't win the Rose Bowl, he won the Fiesta.
Lost the Rose Bowl. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Sam
USC.
How'd I forget? Yes, but yeah, he's got to make a playoff to get higher on this list. This is about his cap.
Mm-hmm. And I think his stint at Vanderbilt is kind of what bumps him ahead of the couple guys he is ahead of.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have number 6, Jimbo Fisher, and Trey and I were the highest. We had him 5th and 6th. Ryan, you were a bit lower at 9th. I think I'll skip past the FSU because obviously that was a great 10-year, one bad year. Okay, he's not perfect. But then he goes to A&M, and he also made them immediately a lot better. I think the mistake people make is just looking at the win-loss record rather than how much better the team actually is.
Totally.
So, previous 3 years under Kevin Sumlin, I'll use Massey Peabody, a nice ranking that I like to use. So they finished 24th, 30th, and 35th. Okay, last 3 years of Sumlin. Year 1 under Jimbo, they jumped to 13th. And then year 2, 15th. So that's a pretty darn good start, especially considering they're bringing just about everybody back this year, that his top 5 recruiting classes are starting to make up more and more of the roster. I think everything's looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I have him 9th, but we're really splitting hairs here, man.
Yeah.
It's just like Trey's comment earlier. You can almost drop him in a bucket at this point and just like, yeah, he's good. I can totally see an argument, and I have no problem with somebody putting him 5th or 6th. But just because of the bad ending at Florida State, there is a blemish on his resume at this point, and I know he's had some good teams at A&M and he's immediately made them better, but he hasn't broken through there yet. So, I mean, that's why I dropped him below guys like,
sure,
top 8.
I totally agree with what Michael you first said, is that people are so swayed purely by wins and losses. I know at the end of the day that's kind of what matters, but he didn't inherit much from A&M. They've also had the insanely difficult schedules in the SEC.
Clemson in the non-conference.
Yeah, so it's not like he wasn't just walking into to the easiest of situations. And like right now, I'm just pretty dang confident that A&M's going to be a relevant player in the coming years. Might not be this specific year. I mean, they definitely could, but like just with the recruiting and then the way he's progressed with A&M so far, I'm very confident that A&M will be relevant here in the short term.
Yep, I 100% agree. We are to the top 5 now. And another guy that Trey loves here, and Dan Mullen. I mean, we all love Mullen. What's not to like? Trey, you had him 4th, and Ryan was the lowest at 8th. So make your cases there.
Well, I'll say we all know I've been bullish on Mullen. He had great success in Starkville at Mississippi State. He's won 2 New Year's Six games in both of his years at Florida. And Ryan, you had a good point on Twitter, I believe you had it, where in the 8 years prior to Mullen at Mississippi State, they won more than four games just one time.
Yeah.
He won 5 his first year and then went to a bowl game, so he did better than 4 every year for the next 8 years. Like, it's amazing what he did at Mississippi State. And then you look at this upcoming year, like Florida's going to be probably preseason top 10. He's done well with the quarterbacks he's had who aren't all that great. I just would be so encouraged being a Florida fan.
He's recruiting better than I think people maybe even anticipated when they got him.
Yeah, remember that first class he had, or at one point it was Florida fans were kind of freaking out because early in the cycle it wasn't going well, but it's picked up for sure.
Yeah, they're doing very, very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have him 8th, which I guess is lower than you guys, and especially lower than you, Trey.
Yeah,
it's just every coach in front of him has at least made one playoff, in my rankings at least, except for James Franklin. I had Franklin above Mullen. He was the only guy that hadn't made a playoff in front of him. But I gave the edge to Franklin just because of what he did at Vandy. I mean, I think Vandy was even harder than what Dan Mullen did in Starkville.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Vandy. Come on, guys.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think pretty much the same thing goes for Penn State and Florida. I think Florida is easier to win than Penn State is. So, and Franklin has essentially done what Mullen's done at Penn State, and Florida. Mullen's done at Florida. So it's splitting hairs, but that's just why I have him Franklin a little ahead of Mullen at this point. But Mullen's done great, and I think he's gonna climb. I think he's gonna make a playoff at Florida. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, number 4 on our list of top 10 head coaches. Who is it, Ryan?
We got Lincoln Riley. Yep. I mean, this is he's proven himself, 3 times now. I think we can safely put him as a top 5 head coach. A couple of Heisman winners, Big 12 champs every year he's been there, playoff each of the 3 years. The only negative you can really point to for his head coaching experience so far is just the defense and how horrible that side of the ball has been. But you kind of almost don't blame him just because of the holdover of Stoops. So he's trying to, I don't know, maybe be loyal a little bit to his former boss. But he finally is like, okay, enough is enough. Brought in a proven coach and Alex Grinch. So that side of the ball got better this past year. I mean, the last game put a sour taste in your mouth, but they did get better, and I'm sure they're going to continue to get better on that side of the ball. So it's just obvious that he's done a great job, and how can you not? He's made 3 straight playoffs. He's got to be a top 5 coach.
Yeah. The other thing with when we talk about, he inherited such a great program, because I think they had 2 straight top 5 finishes, the year before he became head coach, but he was a big part of that. So because he was the offensive coordinator, of course, and took that offense to a whole different level. So it might not be fair in the case of Lincoln Riley to denigrate him for kind of what he created.
Yeah,
and that's why I finally have really come around on him, is mainly because of he's the architect of that offense, and it's just so damn good. Like, it's unbelievable. He just finds ways and playmakers to make it great.
So that means number 3, you can probably guess because you know who the top 2 are. Number 3 is Kirby Smart. We all had him 3rd or 4th on our list. There's not really much bad to say. He had that one transition year we talked about where he went 8-5. Okay, I think that's fine. Since then, 2017, he's a play away from the national title. 2018, goes 11-1 and kind of loses a heartbreaker in the SEC title to a historically good Tua-led Alabama. And then 2019, 11-1 again in the regular season, which is amazing, and lost in the SEC title to one of the all-time great LSU teams. So, I mean, it's pretty dang good. And recruiting is number 1 every other year, it seems like. What's not to like?
Couple coaching calls.
Sure.
That's it. That's the only thing you can point to, because, I mean, everything else has been phenomenal. So, 3. He's gonna be one of those. He's gonna join the top tier eventually.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, and you can also see like his fingerprints have,
I think,
elevated Georgia from, like, they were really good, always really good under Mark Richt, but you can tell like he's taken them to the next step, and now he's just got to finally break through in a national title. But I mean, oh my gosh, the way they're recruiting, there's no reason they won't do it in the short term, you would think.
Yep. Okay. So number 2, a little bit of drama here because you never know, but it is Dabo Swinney. And so this means Nick Saban is number 1. Did you waffle on that decision? Did you have to think about it? How did it go?
I thought about it for a second. I mean, if you just take the past 5 years, they're pretty much the same, neck and neck. There's really no difference there. They've each won a couple, and I think they both have maybe just lost 5 games in the last 5 years. So it's 1A, 1B, but I mean, Saban's finished in the top 10 12 straight years at Alabama, and it's just an uncanny amount of success that he's had. So, and 6 national titles, 1 at LSU. But that's the edge that he has. He has the edge of time over Dabo. But at this point, Dabo, if Dabo goes and wins another one this coming year, then I might put on this list 1A, 1B. Or
I thought about it too, but it's just that Saban's not showing any signs of slowing down yet. Like, it's not like they're still recruiting at a high level. They're going to the playoff practically every other year, or winning it every other year. Like, if there was signs of him starting to kind of slip, then I would have, but he just hasn't yet.
Yeah, because last year, obviously, they didn't make it, but had Tua not gotten hurt, they
who knows?
likely would have made it, or maybe. So I also went Saban number 1 just because of what Ryan said. We've just seen him do it for a longer period of time and at different stops along the way. That's always a positive. So But you can't go wrong here. So
no, and I will say, like, Dabo has kind of elevated the Clemson recruiting to that next step. They were always like really good, but recently they're now at the elite level.
That's true. And if you're trying to make an argument for Dabo number one, Alabama, they have one of the best histories in college football, if not the best. Clemson, they've never had a run anywhere close to this. So I guess solely the job he's done there, you could argue is more impressive than Saban.
Yep, that's true.
Okay. Well, for the YouTube viewers, we will show you number one, Nick Saban, his beautiful face. And then, so let's show the whole top 10 list there just for everyone on YouTube to see. By the way, we are almost at 100 subscribers in our short YouTube career. So
all right, keep it up.
Not bad. Yeah. If you're listening and haven't subscribed, we encourage you to do so. So honorable mentions to the list though: Gus Malzahn, Brian Kelly, Kyle Whittingham, Mario Cristobal, Matt Campbell, Mike Gundy, Tom Herman, Kirk Ferentz, Lane Kiffin, Dave Clawson, only 5 more to go, Mac Brown, Gary Patterson, PJ Fleck, Mike Leach, and David Shaw. So those were kind of the rest of the guys, I guess, that were considered for the top 10, I guess. Well, some of them maybe not so much, but
yeah.
Okay, anything to add about this top 10 list, or should we move on to the G5?
Well, let's get the G5 over with, man. That is
because it's so difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really struggling. I spent a lot of time on it. I'm like, I can't,
It was difficult. I mean, I wanted to put like 15 guys in the top 5.
No, yeah, after the first 2 or 3, yeah, I agree with you, Trey. It's like there's like 20 guys, put their name in a hat, and you could choose any of them. But let's look at last year's list. So we did this episode last year, and our top 5 was number 5, Bill Clark from UAB. Number 4, Jeff Tedford at Fresno State, who of course stepped down. Number 3, Jeff Munkin at Army, who we all thought would win 9, maybe 10 games this year. They went 5-8.
Yeah.
Number 2, Bryan Harsin at Boise State. And number 1, Seth Luttrell of North Texas, who went 4-8 this year. He almost got the K-State job last year. He
should have taken something.
Yeah, he maybe should have, because that would have been selling high. He thought he was going to have a good team this year. What's that?
He thought he was going to have a good team.
Yeah, Mason Fine.
And Fine coming back.
It did not go well. I think their season win total next year is not very high either, so we'll see. But he maybe missed an opportunity to sell high on himself.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's 2019. Let's do 2020. Ryan, who fell 5th on our list?
Ken Niumatalolo at Navy. This was... I had him the highest, I guess, I think at 4th. He has only had 2 losing seasons in his 12 years at Navy. That's quite an accomplishment. He's finished in the top 20 twice in the last 5 years. And, once they made the move to the AAC, a tough conference, they've gone 7-1 in that league 3 out of his 5 years. That's pretty remarkable. I know in 2018 they had a really down year. They won like 3 games. They had a lot of injuries and stuff that kind of hurt that season. But, it's hard to maintain the top level. But he's, over the course of his career there, has been unreal. So
yeah, and I mean, like, this past year, they weren't supposed to be all that great. But they've had, the quarterbacks was like, Malcolm Perry. They've had Keenan Reynolds. Like, he's consistently churning out some good offenses there.
Okay. Number 4. Trey, this was actually number 1 on your list.
So, yeah, Bill Clark. Now, it was hard to make a case. I could have made a case for number 1 for a lot of these guys. So the reason I just went with Bill Clark at number 1 for me was just because he purely essentially built a program from nothing after UAB kind of went in hibernation for a couple years. But since they've come back, he has won the division twice in Conference USA. He has an 11-win and a 9-win season in his last 2 years, and he's been to a bowl game the last 3 years. I mean, it's pretty dang impressive what he's done.
Yeah, there's not much negative you can say. There's also not a lot to compare it to, because As I can recall, we've never really seen a situation like happened at UAB. So, but it's hard to imagine anyone doing much better than he's done given the circumstances. Because it's not like they were good before the program went defunct.
He was the coach the year before they went away.
Oh, was he for 1 year?
Yeah,
and it was not a good season.
I think they won like 5 games or something. But
okay.
Yeah, I think so. But what do you just take a pause for 2 years? I mean, a bunch of players had to go elsewhere. I can totally agree with that being number one. I can see the angle on that.
Okay, number 3, we have Bryan Harsin. And again, Trey, you were the highest at second. Ryan and I, of course, both had him, I think, in our top 5. I may have had him third. But Trey, why did you have him as high as number 2?
Yeah, I've said it before. I'm usually not highest on guys that inherit good programs like Harsin did, but I'm giving him his due now. He's been there 6 years. His worst season was 9 wins. He's won his division in the Mountain West 5 times. They're consistently ranked, and I'm really confident that Boise's going to be good in the near future as long as he's there. His name always kind of gets mentioned for bigger jobs, but he just hasn't kind of broken through and gotten one of those or taken one of those. So he's obviously respected in the community, coaching community.
For sure. No complaints there. Number 2, I'm very excited to get to this. And this is definitely a bold ranking here with Billy Napier from Louisiana. Yeah. He's only been a head coach for 2 years, but he is just killing it in those 2 years. So he took over a team 150th in Sagarin, so they were really bad. And by year 2 this past season, he had them at 11 wins. They finished 43rd. And, so he's killed it on the field, obviously. We've seen that. But what's maybe been more impressive is the recruiting. His last 2 classes have been 2 of the best in Sun Belt history. He just, right now he seems destined for obviously a Power 5 job. He's gotten a lot of interest. I think he's just waiting for the right one.
He's learned from the best. He coached under Saban. He coached under Dabo.
He did.
I mean, he knows what he's doing.
He definitely has the highest ceiling, probably of all these guys. So, and Michael, if he ends up at South Carolina, we all got to go to a game there.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be great. But I can see why people would say it's too much too soon for Napier, but
it's a futures play.
We believe.
Yep.
Number 1 is Luke Fickell from Cincinnati. Ryan, you and I both had him number 1, so I'll let you kind of say what you liked about him.
I mean, he took over a Cincy program that wasn't good. I mean, Tommy Tuberville, they just finished 4-8 in his last year. Had a 1-year rebuild. Luke Fickell did. He went 4-8 again in that first year. But then the last 2 years, 11 wins each of the last 2 years, and finished in the top 25 both of those years. And this coming year, they're preseason top 20, maybe top 15 in some places by some people. So they're going to be good this year, or they're expected to be. And he's recruiting best in the AAC. I mean, it's been pretty much flawless so far. I mean, it would be nice to win an AAC championship, but so close.
Yeah. So Cincinnati, they had 3 4-stars in their 2020 recruiting class. How many did the rest of the group of 5 have combined? Ryan's holding up a 0.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So close. It was 1.
Wow.
1 4-star, which was actually, do you want to guess which team?
Boise.
No. Good guess. But
was it in the AAC?
Not in the AAC. It's another young up-and-coming coach who I really love at Charlotte.
Wow. Will Healy.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. He was able to do that.
Wow.
But yeah, so Luke Fickell, number 1. And let's pull up the list here if you're watching on YouTube. Maybe we're not pulling up the list. I'm having some technical difficulties. Never mind.
There it is.
No, we see it.
Oh, you're seeing it? Okay. I think the viewers are not seeing it, though. Anyway. Number 6, as far as going through the honorable mentions. So we just gave you the top 5. Number 6, we had Hugh Freeze. On down the list, Frank Solich, Josh Heupel, Troy Calhoun, Will Healy, Jeff Monken, Tyson Helton, amazing year 1 at Western Kentucky, Dana Holgerson, probably dropping, Skip Holtz, Blake Anderson. But I just have to list off some even more guys because we've been saying this whole time. There's several more guys you could easily have in your top 5. Jim McElwain, Sonny Dykes, Doc Holliday, Chris Creighton, Lance Leopold, Willie Fritz.
Yeah. It was so hard.
So hard.
It was really difficult.
Yeah. So if anyone is going to yell at us and say, how can you not have Willie Fritz in your top 5? I'm not even going to argue back. I'm just be like, yeah, you could.
Yeah. I ended up having Frank Solich drop quite a bit just because I could at least just say he's really old. And
that's the only thing because
he hasn't done much other than, he's won like 7-8 games consistently, but he hasn't won the conference or anything. So
I know, but at Ohio, he's done, consider what Ohio was, and he's been there 15 years, and they've been bowl eligible 13 of those. It's crazy.
I just tried to find a reason.
No, I wouldn't build a program with him. I agree with you there.
And
but
the other reason was he nosedive Nebraska, so I hold a grudge.
Oh, well,
Homer.
Some would argue otherwise. Yeah,
Town's pretty dry.
Yeah, Munkin's probably the biggest faller just because this past year was really disappointing.
But just like Ken Niumatalolo, who had a bad year the year prior, I could easily see Jeff Monken having a good year at Army this coming year.
Yeah, we definitely, I think, overreacted to Niumatalolo's 2018. I think when we were making our list because he has a long enough track record of success.
All the service academy, like Troy Calhoun's really good. He's had sporadically some really good seasons in there.
Yeah, he's popped up with 11 wins this past year, I think.
Yeah, and they won the Cheez-It Bowl.
Yeah. Those G5 coaches, I think I put them 5, 6, 7 or 4, 5, 6. I think I put them all right next to each other.
What are you saying?
In my list.
Which G5? Oh, you mean military academy?
Yeah, what'd I say?
Oh,
you said G5.
You said G5.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, by the way, I never
academy.
mentioned. Obviously, we're using the term G5. We are excluding Notre Dame. G5 and Independence. I'm sorry, we're including Independence here, but we're excluding Notre Dame because they don't really fit the spirit of the little guy. So had to get that in there.
And Hugh Freeze, that's why Hugh Freeze was in it.
Exactly at Liberty Independent. Okay, well, any more comments? Is that it? Have we exhausted coaching discussion?
Yeah.
I promise next episode will not be about coaches. Hopefully people enjoyed it. I think we really enjoyed it. But if you didn't, then we're done. Don't worry. And remember to let us know your thoughts on Twitter at CFB Bros and on Instagram at College Football Bros, what you thought of our top 10 list here and the G5. But again, it was very difficult. Give us a break.
Yeah. You do it.
Yeah, exactly. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. And we also just released a Patreon episode, so there's some bonus episodes up there for you. If you're interested, you can support us at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. So thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the College Football Bros. If you have any questions for the next podcast, email them to collegefootballbros@gmail.com. To keep up with the brothers on social media, like them on Facebook at College Football Bros, follow them on Instagram at College Football Bros, and for their commentary on Saturdays, follow them on Twitter at CFB Bros. Thanks for listening.